Welcome everybody to Franchise or Not to Franchise, the Great Resignation. We appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time to come with us to learn about what is possible in franchising. You'll be happy to know that this is just information for those of you who might be considering a franchise. My name is Toni Harris Taylor, and I'm going to be your MC kind of for this event. And for those of you who signed up for this, since we have a small crowd, I'd love to hear who you are and why you said yes to Saturday morning showing up. What is your reason for wanting to hear about franchising? So I'm going to start with Wendy and Mr. Wendy. Tell us your name, please.
It's Chris.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. I've met you on Facebook before, so nice to meet you, Chris. So why did y'all say yes to giving us your Saturday morning?
Well, we, I guess, wanted to explore an option of a third form of income. So, of course, everyone during COVID, we actually had a really good year in this year, but we saw the ability just to lose your income. So we thought it might be an option for us to investigate a third stream of income.
Okay, thank you. And what do you do now, Wendy?
I am the vice president of a residential appraisal firm.
And Chris?
I work at Houston Methodist Hospital as an X-ray tech.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you for coming. Okay. Valvic.
Good morning, everyone. Hi. I came because my husband is still working for a company, but he's going to retire in a few years. And I think we're curious if there is a franchise option that would provide income a little less hands-on. That's my honest appraisal. If it's a lot of hands-on, we may not be a good match. If there are some that are less, hands-on, we'd definitely be interested.
Awesome. Thank you, Val. Is your husband going to join us?
No, my husband is one of those that says, you screen it first, tell me what to do. And that's how we do it. Okay.
I love it. Well, I know Harvey, so you're absolutely right. So welcome, Val. Tiffany.
Oh, shoot.
Hi there. She said, oh, geez.
I'm not camera ready. I'm not camera ready just yet. Give me a moment. But my name is Tiffany Hedman. I got your information from one of my dear friends, Day Smith. And she knows we've both been in pharmaceuticals for years. And just during the pandemic, even a little bit before, I just started thinking, what else could you do with your time? Like, Tiffany, is this it for you? So I actually purchased a franchise. It's called Yoga 6. It's under the umbrella of exponential fitness, such as Club Pilates, Cycle Bar, Row House, and I'm super excited about it. I was asking Day, is this for people that are on the fence looking for a franchise? Because I've already bought into the system. And she was like, no, it's also for current franchisees. So we're in the process of looking for a location, and then we'll go from there. It takes about 3 months to build out. I'm super excited. I won't be the first location in Houston. There are about 3 that are opening right now. One should be opening within the next week or so, 2 more on their way. So I'll be about maybe the 7th one opening in this area. So super excited about it.
Tiffany, welcome and congratulations on taking the drastic step. You'll hear the word drastic from me all day today because buying a franchise is very drastic.
I agree.
To step out there. And what you will learn today, how to build a legacy with your franchise, if that's what you want to do. And you'll also learn some good marketing tips too. So just stay tuned. All right, Larry. And when your camera ready, Tiffany, please come on because we like to talk to humans. Larry, can you talk?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I was just muted because I'm still at the gym. But when, believe it or not, franchise, I never shared this with you, Toni, but I've always considered franchises I think about Subway, and I think I thought that would be a good one because it's kind of inexpensive. And I thought about what do you call it? Oh God. Anyway, but I've always been interested, and when you had mentioned it, I was like, okay, let me see. When I did do my investigation, I thought it was a little expensive. You had to I felt like you were kind of paying a little too much to the franchise owner, but I'm open. Maybe I can learn something different now. This was years ago when I looked at it, so I just want to hear what the latest.
And do you love your job?
I hate my job. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. I despise working.
And hate is not a 4-letter word here, so.
I really do not like work. I've been working in corporate America for almost 30 years now, and I enjoyed it in the beginning, but I don't like it anymore.
Well, fortunately for you, we have my franchisor, Mr. Scott Talley here. He's going to talk a little bit about what you pay for and why you have fees when it comes to franchising. So we'll cover that for you, Larry. Thanks for joining us. Melissa and Brad, you're next.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Okay, great. Sorry, I am walking my dog right now and I have headphones on.
Okay.
So,
Right.
I decided to join today, because David Chimenti had invited us through our Toastmasters group. But the topic to me has been very interesting, as I am trying to start a business of my own, and I am trying to see if franchising is the best route to go.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. When you go back to the house, please turn your camera on so we can see.
Yeah, I'll come on camera here in just a few minutes.
And we won't judge you if you're in workout clothes. All right.
I am.
Mr. Brad Bricker. Hi. Good morning.
I'm also invited by David, and I own a CMIT Solutions franchise, and just wanted to tune in and see what you guys had to say, and if there are other opportunities to expand my business empire. To
CMYT, what is that?
CMIT, it's a completely managed IT is what it stands for. It's IT services for small business.
Awesome. All right. Well, welcome. Did I hit everybody? I think I did. You'll hear from our speakers, so we will, you'll meet them in a minute. Okay. So welcome, everyone. We are glad that you are here. I'm going to get right into the presentation. The presentation is to franchise or not to franchise. Basically, a look behind the curtain to learn what franchising is all about. Those of you who are already franchise owners, again, congratulations. I know that it's a drastic step to buy a franchise because I took that step, but you will get value from this as well. So welcome. Okay, housekeeping. When you can turn your camera on, please turn your cameras on, because we are all energetic speakers who like to speak to humans. So, and not black boxes with names in them. So we appreciate you turning your camera on. Put your name, email, and phone in chat. We will have door prizes at the end. You must be present, not must me, but must be present to win. So put your name in the chat. So our speakers are Mr. David Chimenti, area developer for Instant Imprints and Urban Bricks Pizza franchise. David is my client with Network in Action, as well as my coaching client. And this kind of was born out of that relationship. So Linda Ballesteros with Empower Franchise Consultant. She is a franchise broker, and she helps people that are interested in franchising to figure out what is right for them based on what they want to accomplish. So Val said, I don't want a hands-on franchise. So Linda will just take those off the mix, and she will tell you what is the best option for you. Tanisha Lamille, Dr. Tanisha Lamille, she is a digital marketing specialist. She owns her own business, Clever Site. And you'll hear from her about a digital presence for your business. And then myself, Toni Harris Taylor, Network in Action Northeast Houston. I also own a coaching business, Drastic Results Marketing and Sales Coaching. So we will be your speakers. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. Franchising is drastic, but it is worth it. So again, my business is Drastic Results Marketing and Sales Coaching. I'm an international business coach, an international speaker, and the author of 5 business books. How do you become an international business coach? You do it through networking. I've had coaching clients in Canada and Paris, and it's because I know how to network. Well, in 2019, I decided to purchase a franchise. I was not looking for a franchise. I got to tell you the story. Who loves stories? If you watch movies, you love stories. So I'm going to tell you the story. In 2019, I was examining my business as a coach. And what I figured out was I'm 55. I know I tell everybody I'm 29. See, but I'm 55 and I'm looking for my retirement strategy. And I couldn't figure out how I was going to retire from coaching because it's all my intellectual property. So I was considering getting a job to give me a good 15 years on a retirement plan. Now, let me just tell you, like Larry, I'm not interested in a job because I know the politics that comes with the job, but I couldn't see an end. And I'm being very transparent. So it wasn't that I wasn't making money in my coaching business. I just needed to figure out what my end was going to be. So I was talking and I started looking for a job and started interviewing for jobs. That I had 2 solid interviews. Both were perfect fits for me. I already have relationships with the hiring managers. And so I'm going on this interview thing. In the back of my mind, my spirit is saying, you do not want a job. So I'm talking to a friend of mine who's a life coach. And she says to me, Toni, what's your why? What is your why? And I told her, and she's like, girl, you've already accomplished that. You need a why that's going to inspire you to get up and do what you do. She said, I want you to pretend you don't have a business and go create your new why. So I want you to all, if you are not motivated in your life, you need to figure out what is your why. And if you wrote a why 5 years ago, you need to renew that why. So I did that. I came back to her and said, my why is to touch, move, and inspire my clients to take drastic steps to be better than they were before they met me. I'm a resource. I'm a connector. I want to help people build deeper relationships that are beneficial to their life and business. She said, Toni, oh my God, that's perfect for you. She said, are you doing that? I said, yes. She said, are you getting paid to do that? Oh, that's a whole nother question. I was like, well, when I coach, when I speak, yes, I get paid for that. She said, what do you need to do to get paid to connect people? I said, I need to start my own networking group. She said, well, why don't you? Now, at that time, I was in another networking group that met every week. They used the members to run the group. And I had just already been a part of so much networking where I had not seen people be able to make money at networking. So when she said, why don't you? I said, oh, no way can I start a networking group. I do not have time, money, because I know what it takes. I've seen too many people run networking groups and make no money, and I don't have technology. She said, Toni, if you truly love connecting people, and that's your why, don't worry about the how, it will show up. I said, girl, please, and clicked off of Zoom. I am not running no networking group. I was absolutely adamant because it just is a lot of work. Yeah, I need y'all to stay with me here. 3 months earlier, that conversation was July 2019, 1st of July 2019. 3 months earlier, in April 2019, the last day I signed up to go to a women's retreat. The last day in Fort Worth, 5 hours from Houston. I get to the retreat and there's this little woman there and she says, oh my God, with what you do, you should be a Network in Action franchise owner. I was like, Network in Action? I'm in BNI. She said, well, it's different. It's similar, but different. But franchise, now remember, I'm looking for a job at this point, trying to figure out what's next for me. Franchise sounds like a lot of money, Larry. I said, no way. She said, don't worry about the money. I'm just going to introduce you to Scott, the founder. I'm always game for an introduction. So I said, okay, whatever. But I broke my own rule. My rule is when you meet someone interesting at a networking event, you get a date on your calendar right then and there. By the way, there was only like 12 women at this event. And I did not book a date with her. She did not follow up with me until 1 week, 3 months later, after the conversation with the coach. Don't worry about the how. It will show up. Toni, she says, I have forgotten about you. Well, I have forgotten about her. She said, by the way, it's never too late to follow up. She said, I still want to introduce you to Scott, the founder of Network in Action. I said, girl, I still don't have franchise money. But I did just say last week, a networking group is what I need to live my purpose. She said, girl, don't worry about the money. I'm just going to introduce you to Scott. A couple of days later, Scott walks in, brother from another mother, instant connection. I said, dude, I don't have $40,000. And he made it work. So there's another lesson there. You build a relationship with someone, they'll do whatever it takes to make it work for you. Scott made it work financially where I could swallow that pill. And I'm proud to say that I'm his Rookie of the Year. I still hold that because he ain't gave the award to nobody else. I'm his Rookie of the Year. I am the fastest growing starting franchise from signing my contract to launching. And it's all because I had support and guidance. Remember, I said I couldn't do it by myself because I didn't have the foundation. I knew to build it from scratch was going to take too much. And when the model was presented to me that I could make 6 figures networking, it was already built. The technology I said I didn't have to the coach was already there. I was like, sign me up. And the franchisor was willing to work with me financially. Sign me up. When I tell you this was the best decision I have ever made in my business, and my business is all about connecting business owners, and the transformations I've seen in my members have floored me. Every time I tell this story, I get tears in my eyes because he changed my life. I was looking for a job. He came into my life with a system that I could just plug into, use my talent that I already knew I had to change lives. I'm leaving a legacy with my franchise. When I have taught my clients about networking, they'll be able to take with them anywhere in the world, no matter what they do next, to make the money they make. to buy the insurance they need, to leave money for generations. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. I get emotional every time I tell that story because Jehovah God worked in my life the moment I was looking to go back into the snake's pit, because I really corporate, it's a snake's pit. And I just am happy that he showed up when he did. So here's some of the advantages of franchising. And you heard some in my story. You're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Lower risk with predictable results because the franchisor has already gone through the motions. He's created something that you can plug into. It's established, proven product or service. You have a reduced learning curve because the trainings usually are there and you can just plug in. Efficiency, all the kinks have been worked out. There's a business plan and a model for you to follow. And you don't have to start from scratch. So when it comes to paying the fees, if you're starting your business from scratch, you're gonna pay those fees. You're gonna pay it and making mistakes in your business and building from scratch. Larry and I, we can talk about that. Or you're gonna pay the fees and then plug into a system that already works with people, other franchisees that you can tap into to help you as well. I never saw myself as a franchise owner. In the Black community, people are always talking about starting your own business, but I never hear them talking about franchising. It's always start your own business from scratch. Well, I've learned that's the hard way. Ask me about how much money I poured into Drastic Results. So franchising is, I'm sold. It's a great way. And here's the facts. Entrepreneur Magazine shows the success for opening a franchise is 90%. After 7 years, 91% are still operating their franchises. And we know the failure rate of doing it from scratch ourselves. The existing startup still in operation after 7 years is 20%. Franchising works, you guys. So I'm so much so that me and David and Linda have formed, coming soon, the Minority Franchise Association. We are committed to helping women and minorities to understand franchising and then to help those who become franchise be successful. Stay tuned. It's going to be big, y'all. And y'all are here on the ground floor. So I'm going to open the line for my franchisor, Mr. Scott Talley, the life changer. I forgot to mention, I think I brought 6 franchisees to the table as well. So I've helped the brand to grow nationally as a result. And now we're international. So I'm going to open the line for Mr. Scott.
You can't make me follow that act, please. Come on.
I love you. Let's see if I can get you pinned. I'm going to pin myself and pin you. So that's perfect. So Mr. Talley, thank you so much. Introduce yourself. Tell them what your experience is. And then I have some questions for you.
Well, first of all, I'm very, very grateful already that you invited me. That's number one. Number two, I want to apologize. I am 64. And yes, I have a 7-year-old birthday today. You can do the math. So my little guy's turning 7 and the bouncy house is loaded and stuff going on. So I'm not going to be able to stay the whole time, but that goes against the grain of what I believe, because I believe I want to stay and participate with everyone. But I told Toni I had this little challenge. So grateful for the invitation and glad to be here. And I hope I can add some value. I think I can, because I got a lot of ideas rolling in my head for you all that are looking.
So tell us about Network in Action and how did you start it?
Really simple. My wife got a real estate license. I had a marketing company. I said, honey, you can put on your little white pearls like every other realtor. I can take a picture of you. I can market the heck out of you, and we're going to be broke. You've got to go network. And then I would follow it up with a snide comment like, it stinks. And a week later, I'd say, did you find a networking group? You're going to hate it, but did you find one? Finally, by the grace of God, and I mean that, I had an iPad sitting next to me on the couch. I already had an existing business, employees all over the country, and it wasn't doing well, and I wasn't happy, and that's what I want to lead into. I had no passion for that business, none, because we were churning customers and we weren't helping people, really. It was a marketing company. Couldn't tell if it worked or not, but people were spending money with us. I hope I didn't bump into my customers. Nothing felt good about it except the money. Hell of a terrible way to live your life. I grabbed an iPad and I just put in the Google search, reviews of networking groups. And I read till 1 a.m. I went to bed. My wife goes, my God, where you been? I said, I got the best idea I've ever had in my life. There's thousands of people out there that hate networking. Let's create a different way to do it. I'm going to create a group of people who have second homes in the hill country and are buying homes in Galveston, not people living in apartments. And so I built a group for my wife. We had success. In the back of my mind, I thought, who wants to take on Hertz Rent-A-Car, right? You're opening a rental car company. We went up against the #1 player in the whole world. They're in 58 countries. No one had ever challenged them. And every single person told me I was whacked out of my mind. How can you take on B&I? You got no money and all you have is an idea. I said, we have a better widget. And we started 7 years ago. And by the grace of God, we're at 81 franchises and just starting in 30 groups in Canada. We've had really 0 failures and very, very blessed. But the best part of my life is all I got to do is go out. Well, this is pretty hard, but I get to work with people like Toni. And what I would say to you is this. If you think about this, the reason you don't do it is fear. So write this down, if you will. No fear. Not the way Nike says it, no fear. KNOW. Know your fear. And so that slide Toni showed says it all. 95% of businesses go out. 90+% of franchises make it. So where's the fear? Where's the fear? I have started over 17 businesses in my life. I'm a terminal entrepreneur. No one would hire me. That's what that really means. Right? And I know the failures. I mean, I could teach you more about the businesses that failed than I can talk about the success of Network in Action. But if you recognize that fear is the only thing that keeps you from jumping, but if you start thinking about the franchise model where the systems are in place, I can guarantee you whatever you spend, I mean, you can buy a Subway, what, Linda, for $40,000? I mean, you might have to have 450 available and you might only make 65 or 67,000. So I'm not suggesting that's a good franchise, but you know, you're going to put that $40,000 out. Well, you couldn't start a sandwich shop for $40,000. Right? And it's the same thing with anything, you know, with Instant Imprint. There's no way you could start David's enterprise on the kind of money they charge for a franchise. And they're going to give you a successful formula. Now, Larry, I want to say real quick, franchising is not for everyone. I would be a terrible franchise because I'm full of ideas and I want to do it my way. And I'm an entrepreneur and, you know, you got to be willing to follow a model. And if you're not, don't franchise. Don't franchise.
So why did you decide to franchise? Because you could have just kept your groups and just kept your groups and go.
Well, number one, I like building. I like building things. But here was the number one reason. When I was in college, I'm Catholic. Don't blame that on me. Blame it on my mom and dad. But I was studying to be a priest. There's no way I was going to be a priest. I loved women. There was no way I was ever going to be a priest. But I had this ministerial side of my life where I always wanted to give back. And through my whole life, I could never find a way to work and make a lot of money because I like nice stuff. Toni will tell you, I like nice stuff. But I couldn't figure out a way to make nice stuff, have a lot of money, make good, and feel good about what I was doing. And as soon as I got involved with my members at Network in Action, I was like, we are changing lives. I have a gentleman who's on the verge of bankruptcy. This is an absolute true story. His name is Tom Reed. He owns a company here in Houston, Texas, Texas Label Printers. He's gone from almost bankruptcy to he'll do $7 million this year in 4 years through networking. $7 million. Now, we don't take all the credit, but he gives us a lot of it. And so the ability to like take a check from you for joining my networking group and then get to see you every month and have an impact on your life has fulfilled me beyond anything. And that's one of the 3 lessons I wanted to leave today as we integrate this. So I don't want to talk too long on each question, Toni, but don't spend one hour doing something you don't want to do going forward. Notice I didn't say 10 years. I didn't say 12 months. Remember when you were young and you were in high school and you stayed in a bad, unhealthy relationship? Why don't you do that now? Because you're smarter. Don't spend 1 minute. I'm 64. I'm a young 64. But I can tell you, I spend a lot more time thinking about my legacy today than I did at 50 or 45 or 35. Don't wait to start thinking about your legacy. You think Mattress Mac spends more time thinking about furniture or thinking about what he can do to help people? Don't spend 10 years doing something for someone else when you're unhappy.
I love that. Thank you so much. So what are some of the mistakes you've seen people make, your franchisees? What mistakes have you seen them make, and how can these people avoid that?
Yeah, I think David and everyone that's in the franchise business will echo this, Linda, for sure. You know, don't buy a franchise. You wouldn't buy a Chick-fil-A and then tell the franchisor, hey, we're not going to offer waffle fries at my location. Don't buy a Five Guys and say, we're not going to do the spicy crispy chicken. You know, don't change the model. You see it all the time. Where was I the other day? You see where businesses get purchased and the buyer comes, well, it's happening at B&I. B&I has come in, if you're familiar with that organization, and they purchased it from Ivan Meisner, and now they're not going to pay presidents and vice presidents and secretary treasurer. Now, they made $22 million with that decision, but they ticked off thousands of people all over the world who are saying, why do I want to volunteer anymore? So don't buy a franchise and then go in and think you're going to do it your way. That kind of model, if that's your mentality, very entrepreneurial, then start your own gig. But be ready, because 90% unfortunately don't make it. So model, that's something, again, I wouldn't be a good franchisee. I don't want to follow a model. But I'll tell you one thing, if I had known about franchising when I was most of your age, I would have been a franchise. I probably would not have started Network in Action. I didn't know about franchising. I don't know why. I was opening businesses left and right. But if I knew about franchising, and keep something else in mind, Chris and Wendy, the average, I really applaud y'all, because the average millionaire has 4 streams of income. 4. So if you can get a franchise and find somebody to run it or whatever, Toni's got a hell of a coaching practice and she's got a hell of a speaking business, but she finds time for a revenue stream with a franchise.
And I did not see that. I'm going to ask the audience, do you all have any questions for myself or Scott based on what we've already said? Unmute yourself if you have anything you'd like to ask.
Can I sum it up? Somebody got a question?
I do. I have a question. So I really like what you said regarding following the model. But what if, this person's market may be a little bit different, and the model, go ahead. The model that may have worked for other franchisees may not be appearing to work in a different market.
Tiffany, that is a great question. And I used to have 57 salespeople in different parts of the country, and I have it today. I have an individual franchise owner who's telling me everyone in Philadelphia wants free networking. And I say, Dr. Green, he's a doctor. We have 4 doctors and 2 Navy SEALs. I'm very proud of the 2 Navy SEALs that just signed on Friday. I'm so excited to work with them. You want to talk about, those guys did 20 tours together, 20 tours total, 6 missions together. And all they talk about is being in mission. They have left the military and their life is all about their mission. Think about that. We all have that training. It's all about their mission. Their mission now is to help people. So they joined us. But Tiffany, here's the real reality to that. And Linda, help me if I'm wrong. If a franchisor is worth their salt, they're not going to sell you their product or their service in a market that's not going to work. Okay, they know that intuitively. And so here's what happens, Tip. The people think, oh, my market's different. So Dr. Green's telling me, and I finally said, Dr. Green, you're a smart man. Are you telling me in a city with 4.5 million people, you can't find anybody who wants to pay for networking? Or are you telling me you're not willing to go find them? You can't tell me there aren't 25 people and 4.5 million people. So you have to be careful that you don't think your market is so different and you use that as a reason. You know, I love John Maxwell. John Maxwell says there's a difference between, I can't do something and I won't do something. And most great leaders I won't ask Linda to do something she can't do. That'd be bad leadership. But I'm not going to sell a franchise in Fredericksburg, Texas. It wouldn't work. Everybody goes down to the feed store. They all know each other, right? But I am going to sell a franchise in Philadelphia. Now I've got to find the right person. So I hope that answers your question. They shouldn't sell you something in your market. Now, that doesn't mean your market might not be slightly different or might be some things that they need to tweak in terms of marketing or something like that.
So let me also add this. Tiffany, you have to build a relationship with the leadership because they'll listen to you. And relationships matter throughout, no matter what you're doing in business. So spend time cultivating the relationship. And I think Scott and I have built a great relationship because number one, I show up. Number two, I do whatever he asks, even if I don't agree with it. And there's been times I don't agree with what changes he have made, but I'll try it once. I'm willing to try it once. And he's willing to hear me because we have that dynamic. There are other franchisees, I'll be 100, that I know he doesn't entertain like he entertains me because they're not showing up the way they need to show up. So, and if you don't think something is working, you got to show them that you tried it and it didn't work. And now let's tweak it together.
That's right. It goes back to what Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You build your influence. So I'm going to listen to Toni because she's so wildly successful in her life and her coaching practice and her franchise. But somebody in, another part of the world who's leaned out and is going to tell me all the reasons why COVID's affected their franchise. And I've got 60 people wildly successful growing at about a 15% clip in the middle of all this mess. That's who I'm going to listen to.
The other thing is,
if I can, Toni, I want to add 2 quick things about this. And I really believe this. When you're looking at a franchise, whether it's David or Cleverside or whatever you might be, is Cleverside a franchise, Tanisha?
No, we're not.
Okay. 2 things. Always ask this question. What is the cost of acquisition? Because a lot of franchisors don't talk about what it costs to acquire a customer. And that's paramount, whether it's energy or effort or money or marketing or, what is the cost to acquire a customer is really a question you should really dig down. And then the second thing, you're going to have the name and phone number of every person in the system. Spend more time with them than you do with me. Spend more time, call every single one of them. Take the time to vet whatever you're about to buy, and people will tell you, you'll hear their truth. What a huge advantage. I mean, can you imagine if you were starting a print company like Instant Imprints and you had, how many franchises y'all have, David? I mean, if you had all these people to call to say, hey, I'm about to start a printing company, they could tell you everything they did wrong and everything they did right, you probably wouldn't go out of business without a franchise. But you don't have that. That's worth the money of your franchise right there, besides all the value David and them are going to bring you. So
I want to let everybody know I am monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, I know some people don't like to speak up. You can put your questions in the chat. And I do have a question for Scott. In addition to a successful business model that you get when you purchase a franchise, what else should a prospective franchise buyer be looking for? What type of support should they be looking for from the franchisor?
So support is critical. And you need to look beyond the training, what a franchise offers, what happens, how do you help me launch? What do you do if I'm not doing well? Do I have a mentor program? Am I connected with the other franchisees? A lot of franchise brands try to keep people apart, right, Linda? They don't want their franchises talking. I guarantee you, what a Burger King wishes their franchise owners would never talk because they talk all the time and they got lawsuits going left and right. So I wouldn't want to be in an organization where they don't want you talking. So we connect our franchise owners with our own software. They can ask questions, post things. They can talk bad about me. They can do whatever they want right there in public. They're all connected. So make sure you have the initial training. But let me tell you, Tanisha, how you can cut to the chase on that. When I'm calling all the franchise owners and I'm asking questions, they're going to tell me how the support is. I mean, sure, these awards on our back wall are great. We've won 2 years in a row, best culture, best customer service from our franchise owners. But if somebody feels left out, they're going to tell you when you're making those phone calls. So you'll hear whether or not, it's one thing for me to say we support our franchises. Okay, how many of you had failed? There's an action coach brand. Did I say that, Linda? There's a coaching brand called Action Coach with, everybody thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. They've got hundreds of failures because the day after you buy the franchise, you owe them $2,300 a month starting in 30 days, whether you have a customer or not. So that's a bold, drastic step to buy that franchise. No offense. They're very successful, but they got a lot of unhappy people. I know a lot of talented people that didn't succeed with that franchise. I know another brand that, they basically have a quota of how many franchises they have to resell. They don't care if you succeed or not. They say, well, Tanisha, Toni was successful. She got the same training as you. So let us help you resell your franchise. We'll make another $30,000 off of it. They just ruined your family. You're bankrupt. And they got a quota. You know what I'm talking about, Linda. I won't name any names, Sinorama. Okay. So basically, you got to look at the culture. Are they passionate about making sure you succeed? And I don't want any failures. The poor people who decided to resell their franchise break my heart, but luckily we helped them get out whole. So you'll hear all that as you're talking to people on that document.
Awesome.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for your time. Our time is up.
It is my pleasure. No thanks needed. But I do want to leave you with 3 things. No fear, KNOW. Don't wait till you're my age to start thinking about your legacy. Don't spend 1 minute doing something you don't love. And spend as many minutes as you can making the world a better place. And that's what we try to do at Network in Action. And if you do that, you have a fulfilling life. You'll die a happy person. I really appreciate y'all letting me get on. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer, then I'm going to go do piñatas and bouncy house.
Thank you so much, Scott.
I got to act like I'm still party.
Yeah. Make sure you put that on Facebook. I need to see it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Scott. Give him a round of applause. I think that was amazing and valuable.
Yeah. Oh, my phone number is in the chat. I love to talk to you about franchising. If you're vetting another franchise, feel free to call me. I'd love to talk to you. I don't care if it's 3 years from now or a year from now. I know Linda's going to help you, but if you just want to talk, hey, I'm looking at this franchise, I'll be happy to discuss it and throw questions at you and see if I can help lead you to David.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Love you.
I hope I wasn't too long-winded. Thank you.
No, you were excellent. We appreciate you. So everybody, that's the message. Franchising is drastic.
It's not near as drastic as starting your own business, though.
But it's not near as drastic. Thank you for that. And if I had known about franchising earlier, I would not have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building my business. I would have just stepped into someone else's model. Now, no regrets. I love my business, Drastic Results, but I had to build it from scratch. It's either, box cake or flour and all the other ingredients. So I like box cake. It tastes just as good for me. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Miss Linda. Oh, before I introduce Linda, real quick, I am having a conference. It's called the Viral Networking Conference. Can y'all see my homepage? The Viral Networking Conference. No matter what business you do, franchise or no franchise, if you don't have a network, you're not going to be successful. I believe that why businesses built from scratch fail is because they never learn how to market themselves and build relationships that help them to grow. It is November 3rd through 5th. I have 3 spots in person in Houston available if you want to get your seat. Tiffany, if you're interested, Day has a discount for in person. Call her today because those 3 are going to sell out by Monday. Or you can do it online, virtual. So just wanted to introduce you guys. I'll put the link in chat. But if you can feel my heart and what I said about networking and how it changes lives, literally. The reason we're here is because of networking. Because David and I did networking, Tanisha and David did networking, Linda and I did networking, and now bigger things are happening. You don't have your networking game on, get to my conference, virtually or in person. All right, very good. So I'm going to stop sharing and introduce you to my friend, Linda Ballesteros. Linda is a consultant, franchise broker with Empower Franchise Consulting. I could read you her bio. She's an author. She has a background in banking and financial, but I want to tell you Linda's heart. Linda and I met at a networking event. I remember it. We go back and forth about the year, but I want to say it was 2008 or 9. And it was a networking event at someone's house. It was a lunch in someone's home. And heard about it through my network or through social media, and I showed up. First key to success is to show up. We had a date, and we've been dating ever since. Linda has gone through lots of challenges in life next to me, and we have seen each other through a lot. When I met David and he told me about what he wanted to accomplish with the Power Team, with helping minorities to get into franchising, the first person I thought of was Linda. And now we're forming a partnership. So I want to bring to the stage my friend, Linda Ballesteros. She's amazing and she loves helping her people to learn how to create a living, a lifestyle, or a legacy with franchising. Linda, you're up.
Thank you very much, Toni. And yes, I do remember that day. And folks, along with building great business relationships, I am telling you, I spent 30 plus years in banking, and I don't even have relationships that came out of that 30 plus years. My strong relationships came out of networking. And I am telling you, these networking connections, they go deep and they last forever. And I know that Scott and Toni definitely ditto on that. So just to tell you, before I get started with my presentation, I want to tell you just a little bit about my background. And as Toni mentioned, I was in banking for 30 plus years. And in 2004, when I realized that the security badge that I put around my neck every single day was getting heavier and heavier, I knew that maybe I was sitting in someone else's chair. Yes, there was a time I had a passion for it. I loved it, but something was changing. The day that I went in to give my resignation, my boss says, well, Linda, because I was part of a corporate group. I was part of the JP Morgan Chase corporate group. So we managed the big accounts. And he said, Linda, are you going to work for another bank? And I said, oh, Lord have mercy. I've spent 30 years in banking. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. Just like Scott was saying, don't spend one more day doing something that you don't love doing. He said, did one of our clients lure you away? So no, it wasn't that. He said, then what are you going to do? Guys, I felt like someone entered the room and said, I don't know, but it has to be more purposeful. He said, what is that? I did not have a clue. And just like Toni said, just like Scott said, if I had known about franchising, I can assure you I would have been on the search at that moment. But I didn't know it existed. So just like Toni, I spent thousands of dollars trying to figure out this entrepreneurial thing and still don't have the power, ended still not having the power that a franchise has. So just to let you know that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, There are so many franchises out there, and they're in so many industries. So when you think of franchise, many times you think of the burgers and fries, and Scott is here and showed you it is certainly not burgers and fries any longer. Franchising is a business model that is fabulous for distributing a product or a service. That's what a franchise is. So let me do a screen share here real quick, and we will get started here, because what I want to show you is actually more of a deep dive into what franchising actually looks like. So again, we're talking about creating a living, a lifestyle, or a legacy with franchising. Franchising is scalable. An independent business, not so easily scalable. So we're talking today about that great resignation. I don't know if you heard about it, but there's a huge percentage of corporate employees that are really considering leaving their position. I've seen figures as high as 75% of people really wanting to leave their jobs. Well, has now led into another movement, and it's called the Great Reevaluation. And I hear from some of you that I'm reevaluating. And what I say happened during the Great Pandemic, is what I call it, is there was a pause. And this pause has allowed us to really look at our life, to reevaluate where we are and where we're going, and most importantly, how we want to do that. So here's some reasons that great resignation has come to light. People, employees, they're looking at their financial needs. They don't want to have that glass ceiling over them. They don't want to have those earning limitations. Many people really enjoyed being at home, so they now know what work-life balance can be. They enjoyed working from home, that remote work. And I think I heard someone say, just like I felt, they're no longer interested in what they were doing. We also know that many companies struggled during the pandemic, and maybe they're still struggling. Now, I'm going to also tell you that I saw some major, crazy, just out of this world growth with some of the franchises. Not every industry suffered during the pandemic. Many industries actually saw record-breaking growth. And that's what we want to look at when we're looking at investing in a franchise. You heard Toni talk about that why. So many people are doing that, reevaluating. Why am I working 50 plus hours a week for someone else? Has my why been overshadowed by doing? What I mean by that is, when I was in corporate, I spent 2 hours a day, folks, commuting from Katy to downtown Houston every single day. And it got to the point that my doing had overshadowed my why. And sometimes you lose your why. And the pandemic actually allowed us to see what we were missing, because we were putting our career first. And the Great Resignation is actually happening because employees are saying, I don't want to be treated that way any longer. So I think back on some of the stiff arm tactics, management tactics. And if you've been in corporate, you certainly know what I'm talking about. Those stiff arm management tactics. And I don't think that's going to fly moving forward. I believe that for employers, corporate America, for them to keep their employees, they're going to have to come up with a different style for those that still want to be there. So I found this quote, and it talked about how for many people, the pandemic renewed their desire to make family a priority. And that's why many of them are looking at that franchise business model. So here are a few more facts. You've heard a little bit about franchising. Toni has certainly shared with you, and so has Scott. There is more than 26,000 new franchised businesses that will be opened this year. So that tells you it is growing. It is growing, folks. And you also see one of the states that is sustaining some of the highest growth is, right here in Texas. And that is because Texas is a business-friendly state, and Texas is growing. Franchising is expected to experience its highest upswing of franchise sales since the recession. So if you want to know whether that franchise business model is a viable model and if it is appealing, I think some of this should maybe help you in making the decision at actually seriously looking at that franchise business model. So franchising is a network, and I think that you've heard some of this before. It is a network of other business owners sharing the same products and service. Remember, I said this is a great business model for expanding products and services. It's a delivery system. They use the same brand identification. This goes all the way down to the color of the logo. Why would you want to go in and change any of that if it has been proven to work? Just like Scott said, it's proven to work. You don't want to go in and do that. However, if you really love creating your own logo, then franchising is certainly not for you. You're provided with the tools to launch and run a successful business. Now, this looks different for every single brand, but generally speaking, you can expect to get, like I mentioned, the logo. You get a CRM. The great thing about having someone else to select the CRM is, I am sure anybody on here that has started a business, you have had to make a decision about a CRM platform, which is the best one, what works best, what delivers the information, what captures the information I need for my industry. You don't have to worry about that. Somebody else has done it. And the CRM that comes with this franchise will be perfect for your industry and your business. The marketing messages have already been designed. You have a marketing team. So you don't have to figure out what is the best way to market this on social media. Now, don't get me wrong when I say that all of the marketing is done by the franchisor. This is your business. You still have to get out and network. Just because you hang a shingle up, that doesn't mean that the very next day you're going to have a line of customers. Folks, it's business. So if anyone tells you purchasing a franchise, you don't have to work in it, you still have to work on building that business. You get the training. And you get ongoing training. Many times what a franchisor will do, depending on what that widget, so to speak, is you get the initial training. If you have technicians that are involved, they will train your technicians. And Toni and Scott have both talked about having those weekly meetings. All of that is so important. Let me tell you another piece that is really important. We saw this during the pandemic, and that is during the pandemic, and I certainly don't anticipate we'll have another one of those, but you just never know. During the pandemic, things were changing. For businesses, they were changing almost hourly. And then all of a sudden, you hear these acronyms, PPP. Well, what does that mean? Do I qualify for that? The great thing about having a strong leadership team is they capture that information, and they pass it on. While you're still trying to keep your doors open, then they are scrambling to help their franchisees to succeed. You're not doing it alone. That is worth the price of the franchise, folks. Let me tell you, there were many independent business owners that closed their doors because they couldn't do it alone. With a franchise, you have your team. You can always raise that flag and ask for help. So these are just three of the reasons that people invest in franchising. They want to replace or increase their income. They want to earn a better return on their investment. And maybe they just always wanted to own their own business, but they didn't know where to begin. There's so many moving parts to an independent business, starting it from scratch. And trust me, if you haven't done it, you don't even know what those moving parts are. And with a franchise, they have it figured out. So when we talked about franchising, I said earlier, this is no longer just burgers and fries. And these are maybe some of the brands that you have passed in your neighborhood, driving around. But these are just the ones you know about. What I love about what I do is I introduce my clients to franchise brands and industries that they didn't know existed. Toni didn't even know that there was a franchise for a networking group. So there are so many industries out there that are represented, and they may fit right with what you're looking for. I want to tell you real quick about how important it is to really identify a franchise, but let me tell you what's more important than that. And that is to make sure that the franchise fits the lifestyle you're wanting to create. So Val mentioned earlier that she was looking for something where it wasn't so hands-on. I'm going to tell you a quick little story about a client that I worked with in the Dallas area. He was a 50-plus-year-old IT executive that had been downsized one time too many. And if you've been in corporate long enough, you know what that means. And he had started interviewing franchise consultants, franchise brokers to help him along this journey, because it is a very challenging journey. Unless you have someone to help you, you can miss a piece or two. So I knew I was the very last consultant that he was interviewing. And when we sat down in his home, he started to tell me that he had actually applied and been accepted by 7-Eleven. He had applied and been accepted and actually gone to Discovery Day, which is where you go to the franchisor's headquarters. And generally, many times, there's a contract signed then, and that's when you go into business. He had gone through Discovery Day with Jimmy John's. And at that point, I leaned across the table and said, why would you ever consider either of those brands? And he seemed a little shocked. Remember, he was an IT executive, so he was used to having all the answers. He said, why would you even ask me that? I said, you just described to me that you and your high school sweetheart have reconnected. You're both single. You want to spend a lot of time together. I said, honey, that will never happen with either of those brands because they are way too intensive. They're way too hands-on. He said, well, Linda, I thought that maybe she could work with me in those. And I said, well, if you decide to go that route, just know that in 1 year, chances are probably that she won't be in your life anymore. So do you see how important it is to make sure that you get the lifestyle, the vision to align with the franchise. That is, to me, as important and sometimes more important than the actual widget. So you want to know what did I put him in? He is in a commercial green cleaning franchise. So he can hire people to go to the offices in the evenings. Weekends are free. That fit his lifestyle so much better than a 7-Eleven, 24-hour 7-Eleven, a Jimmy John's, where the franchisee is required to work in the restaurant for the first year. So they don't allow that you step away. You have to work in that franchise for the first year. So let's start talking about this, leveraging those skills. So as I mentioned before, it doesn't really matter what industry you are in, what industry you have been in the past. There are franchises that can leverage that. Now, not only can they leverage your skill, but think about it also as maybe this is tapping into that passion, tapping into a why, just like Toni described earlier, finding that why, that passion. And there are franchises for that. I think somebody was working out. If that's their passion, there are many, many different types of fitness, health and fitness franchises out there. Services. I like to look at those services that are popular. What is it that the average person uses? Well, if they're a homeowner, well, these are just some of the services that they would use. Business to business. Maybe you don't want to work with the consumer. Maybe you really feel more comfortable working with a business to business opportunity. And so you'll see that that's what these are, whether it's business coaching, business networking, or whether it has something to do with technology. It is all there. Security has become a really hot franchise because, you guessed it, security is a really big issue with companies, and it became an even bigger issue during the pandemic. And I cannot tell you how exciting it is to hear about some of these changes. They are cutting edge, and that's where a franchise has the money to stay in front of that cutting edge. If you have an independent business, you may not have the money to stay up with what the demands are. And there is food services. There's the catering. There are the healthy options. There's ice cream. There are the food options. So if that is something that interests you, then by all means, we'll look at those. Let me tell you another quick story. I was having conversation with a prospective, somebody that was actually looking at the franchise business as an option of him leaving corporate. And I asked him if he had any ideas. Do you have anything that you're specifically interested in? He said, yes, Linda, I want a restaurant. I want to run a franchise restaurant. Oh, that sounds great, John. What's been your experience in the food and beverage industry? He said, well, I don't have any, but I just love to eat. And this is another place, just like Scott was saying, I am all about making sure that I set you up for success. So I am by no means going to encourage you to do something that I'm not sure that you would be successful at. That's my job here. I want to make sure that you align yourself with a franchise that works. My response was, John, food and service beverage industry is so very different than any other company And he was in sales. He was over sales for just a manufacturing company. I said, unless you have past experience with the food industry, I suggest you just go to restaurants, you order, and you enjoy your meal, and you go home. Because otherwise, it will no longer be fun for you. It will take away that enjoyment that you always have when you go out to eat. So this is something we want to make sure. I have an assessment tool on my website where people can go in and take the assessment, and it helps us to really strategically plan their path. So these are some of the other industries. You know, there's the beauty, there's child development. I tell you what, some of these industries absolutely exploded. Children's education it grew by leaps and bounds during the pandemic. Why was that? Well, that was because there were a lot of parents like me. I was never made to be a homeschool mom. That was not my calling, folks. And so they were able to step in. They were able to offer that training virtually. They had the classes virtually. Financial services. Yes, there's even green energy options out there. If you have a passion for green energy as sustainable energy, absolutely, there's a model out there for you. Management and training. David's going to be talking soon about the print industry. Staffing. Yes, there's staffing that is a franchise business model out there. Travel. High-tech vending machines that are absolutely gorgeous, and so much more. So let's talk about creating a living. What I like to do with my clients is to really lay this out, really have a plan, be strategic about your choice. So let's talk about creating a living. We're just going to take the services industry as an example of how I help my clients to get to that legacy. If that's what they want, we can get there. So for example, when you're earning a living, what you kind of have done is you've traded a corporate job for maybe a franchise, and that's going to support your family. So this is the owner operator. This is where somebody purchased the franchise and they are involved. They are more hands-on. Now, if they want to grow that, there are several ways they can do that. They can create a lifestyle. And what I say that is creating a lifestyle is where you get to change your zip code. So you get to scale up in the world. You get to send the kids to those private schools. You get to take those family vacations. That's what creating a lifestyle is. So to do that, you think, what are some of the other products or services that my existing customers would use? Well, yes, they use lawn service, but maybe they need a pool service. So you would be offering your existing customers a service that they already use. Now, if you build that relationship with them, why wouldn't they want you to send another member of your team to clean their pool? Now, let's talk about that legacy. That's where you grow it even beyond that. That's where someday, maybe you'll be able to sell that franchise. You'll be able to sell this organization that you're creating, and you go buy that island, or you go out and you purchase that beach home that goes along with the lifestyle you're looking at. So creating a legacy would mean, what other product or service do your existing customers use? Okay, so you've got the lawn service, you've got pool service. Well, maybe it's a handyman service. You see how all of this ties in, and you've got the same customer base. You're not having to go out and find new customers necessarily. So maybe your customer comes in because they find out that you have a handyman service. And during that time, you mentioned that, oh, we do lawn service as well. I see your pool needs a little attention. We have a pool maintenance service as well. This is why I love to work with my clients on a strategic plan initially. So we know we'll start with this, and in a couple of years, then we'll add something else, and then we'll add something else. And it grows, and it is, like I said earlier, it is scalable. It is scalable. As I mentioned, earning a living, that is that owner operator. That is where you're going to be spending a lot of hours in that. There are some franchises that only offer owner operator. Some of the other terms that you will notice when you're going through this investigation with franchising is semi-absentee and absentee. So a lifestyle is where you can step away a little bit. So you've got a couple of different franchises, and you're the semi-absentee owner there. The legacy is where you're more the investor. You have people running those franchises. So just looking at this, you want to think about, where would you want to grow this? How would you want how would you want this to play out? It's like putting together a blueprint. You're building your future. And when someone's building a home, you definitely have a blueprint. So why shouldn't we have a blueprint when we're building our future? So here's what I want to do. Many of you may not have necessarily looked at franchising before. So I want to show you some of the information that has come directly off of what's called an FDD, franchise disclosure document. Every single franchise will have that document. Everything you want to know and more about that franchise is going to be in that document. Now, I can't show you this information and tell you the name of the franchise, but I can show you this information so that you kind of get an idea of what to expect and what kind of information would be available. First thing the franchise usually says is, what's their ideal client? Well, this lawn service franchise says their ideal client, they're not looking for landscapers, but they're looking for entrepreneurs. They're looking for someone who is good at building relationships. You will hear this over and over and over again. It's about building relationships, folks. It's about building a team. It is about putting together and delivering that marketing message that the franchisor has put together. They're looking for a leader. They're looking for someone that that wants to build a heart-centered business, someone that is passionate, someone who really wants to plug into the community. And they're looking for a team player. Now, these are some of the statistics and some of the information about this specific franchise. They've got 183 units. They have 45 new units out there. And I want to say the new units may have allocated 45 new units for a calendar year to open. They were established in 1996. Their first franchise was in 2010. So they have some experience in franchising. And here's a piece here, retention. Their retention is 79%. I looked at a franchise today, and their retention rate was 25%. What does that mean? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you it means you will never see that franchise from me. I will never present a franchise to you that has anything less than a 25% success rate. The other franchise said 75% failure rate. This particular franchise, this lawn service, it's home-based. Now, you may have room in your garage for the lawn equipment, or you may just go to an industrial park and rent space to keep your equipment there. Every single franchise is going to be different. This is the basic information that you would want, that you'll be receiving, and this will help you to make your decision. So liquidity, $50,000. Investment range, 75 to 150. So much of this also depends on the territory that you purchase. That's why there's such a large investment range. Are you going to purchase a single territory, or are you going to purchase multiple territories? And our next speaker, David Cemente, will be talking about that multiple territory and what that looks like. Franchise fee here is $35,000. Royalty is between 5% and 6%. They've broken down the royalties. You'll see here that it's broken down by revenue. So as your revenue increases, then the royalties change as well. Advertising. This is a 2% advertising. Sometimes they will have, say, for example, a 2% advertising, and that's of your revenue generally. 2% advertising for on the national advertising. And then they may have an additional percentage for you to invest in advertising or marketing in your local market. It doesn't mean they don't help you. It just means that for a national advertising campaign, you contribute a certain amount of your revenue towards that. This one actually describes what passive ownership is. Semi-passive ownership at onset. Yeah, they will accept that. And a passive ownership means that the owner is working 15 hours or less per week on the business. Again, they're going to all have their description about this, but this gives you, again, an idea of what you would receive, the information you would receive about a franchise that you're looking at. This is the training that they offer. Again, they have coaching. I think Scott mentioned that some of the franchises will have coaching programs, and they have regional meetings as well. The advantages of this particular brand, so they say their advantage is there's a recurring revenue stream from repeat customers. That's important. They have a national recognized brand, which people will be drawn to you. This brand actually services both residential and commercial markets, and they also still have a lot of prime territories. Brands that have been around for a long time, some of those prime territories, they may not be available. I wanted to include this testimonial from one of their existing franchises. You'll see this particular franchise is a multi-unit franchise owner. And his testimonial goes like this: high-end residential customers. It doesn't matter what kind of economy, they're not going to be mowing their yard. Businesses don't mow their yard. Commercial properties don't go out and mow their yard. So when I was looking at it, I was thinking this might be a recession-proof company. So those are other things that you want to talk about. What Scott talked about earlier about talking to other people in the company, that is part of the process. It's called validation. So you would have phone calls with existing franchisees, and you'd be able to ask some of those hard questions. How did your franchisor support you during the pandemic? What did they do? If you are not performing at a certain place, how do they help you to make your goal and hit your numbers? So I think this was a quote that Toni said earlier earlier, a franchise offers you an opportunity to be in business for yourself, not by yourself. And that is so very true. This pandemic was certainly an example of that. So what I would like to do is open up for any questions anyone might have about, something that has sparked an interest for you, or maybe you're just wondering how something works.
Linda, this is
Yes.
Val.
Hi, Val.
Hi, thank you. I really didn't know, I learned a lot already. So earlier from Scott and now from you. And the question I have is, if you want to look at maybe doing something almost like a family, like me and my sister, for example, doing a franchise together. We're not a husband and wife, so is there a model where you can do it with a sibling, for example, and set it up where you're both co-owners of if that's what it's called, of the franchise?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Val, because many of these models are perfect for families, and people will have their kids participate in it. So it would almost be like creating a partnership. And yes, franchises are happy to do that. I'm not going to say every single one of them, but that is certainly something that franchises love, because to be honest with you, you're both going to bring something different to the table, right? And then to get the family involved in it. There is, I mentioned the high-tech vending machines. I have a client who had vending machines in the cities where her son was going to college. That became his job. So he didn't have to get a job someplace else. He was paid for that, but it helped to grow their business. So, there's so many different ways of putting something like that together. Absolutely.
Linda, Scott asked earlier, how does the 26,000 new franchises compare to other years, if you know?
I don't have those exact numbers, but with them saying that franchise business model is growing more this year than it ever has before. And I have a radio show. It's called All Things Franchising. And I interview franchisors every single week. And they are all telling me they have seen record growth. Some of them have had 400% growth. Now, that may sound great, but that's something we'd want to take into consideration. Do they have the infrastructure to support that kind of growth? I'm not here to be a Debbie Downer, but I certainly want to make sure that when you look at a franchise that is growing, that maybe they've got the history to be able to support that. I would ask the questions, have you added additional leadership to support this growth? Will your infrastructure support this? Will the CRM support this? So yeah, that's a really good question, Tanisha.
One more thing, Linda, you mentioned a link on your website to evaluate what type of franchise. Would you mind putting that link in the chat for everyone?
It's actually on my website, and I'll actually put my website link in there. And this particular business assessment tool is designed for those that are going into franchising. So the questions are customized, and it helps us to identify, should you be an owner operator, or should you be an absentee owner, for sure. Very good. Well, if there are no other questions, I will keep us moving here, and I'll introduce our next guest. Let me stop the share here. And I will introduce our next guest. So our next guest is David Cemente, and he not only co-owns an Instant Imprints franchise with his wife, but they are also area developers in the South Houston area for Instant Imprints as well. And if that's not enough, he's in the process of opening the first of 3 pizza franchise restaurants. He has a diverse background in his career. And what you will find here is that many of us came from many different careers, and it just doesn't matter. There's so many skills that are transferable. So he's been in a ministry, insurance sales, industrial distribution sales and management, and construction project management. So please help me in welcoming David. David, welcome.
Thank you very much, Linda. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. As we're hearing here, business ownership is really a big, big decision. And it was one that I have struggled with for many, many years myself. From the time I can remember, probably in my late 20s, early 30s, I actually started out to go into the ministry, and then that didn't work out, but I won't go into that today. But so then when I had to consider a career change, I thought about, I wanted to go into business for myself, but I just didn't have, my excuse at that time was I didn't have enough knowledge, I didn't have enough money, these kind of things. So I got into sales and started working my way up that way. Before I go too much further into this, I do want to share a story, a little twist on a story that you've probably heard before, called The Three Blind Mice. And this story is what helped tip the scales for me to do something about it. So this is the untold story behind the Nursery Rhyme. Let me introduce you to the players here, the characters. Woulda-butt, shoulda-butt, and coulda-butt. These guys, they love to bring home the cheddar. They like making money. They want to do well in their lives. They've all had various careers in the cheese industry, and they're always the first ones to ask, who moved my cheese? Well, let's take a look at these guys individually. Woulda-butt, he had an advanced degree in engineering. He's working on designing safety software called CAT-P. It's for cat attack triangulation program, so you can know when the cats are coming to get you. But the thing is, he's been in the design stage for over 15 years. In an interview with the Cheesehead magazine, he was asked why he had not completed the design. His response to that was, well, I would have, but I'm still working on getting the tracking transmitter implanted in the cats without being eaten. Well, his brother, Shoulda-butt, he's a C-suite executive. He has a consistent track record of increased profits. He's turned 3 failing businesses around to making them profitable. And he's often dreamed of owning his own cheese distribution since he was just a little squeaker. Many years later, in his memoirs, he would write, I know I should have opened that business, but I was always too busy and the timing just didn't seem right. Well, Coulda-butt is their sister, and she is a nurse at the local ENT. So that stands for Ear, Nose, and Tail Clinic. I don't know if you remember from the Nursery Rhyme, the butcher's wife was very fond of cutting off tails. So she works 50 to 60 hours a week. She's a single mother with 10 children at home to care for. She's dreamed of completing her doctorate degree. These days, she's often heard saying, I could have been a doctor, but who has the time to study? The real blindness that we're talking about here is excuses. Too often we have these dreams and we have these hopes of doing more with our lives to leave that legacy that's been talked about. But what it really boils down to is when we're making excuses, we're really saying, I just didn't do it. By the way, my wife and I are also real estate investors, and we've got a house for sale if anybody's interested. But, you know, this really is a house nobody wants. And why? Because excuses, it was built with excuses, and they are the nails that build the house of failure. Nobody wants to live in a house of failure. But what's the answer? The solution to excuses is having goals. Excuses look backward and focus on failure. Goals look forward and find ways to achieve success. Excuses see obstacles as unmovable mountains. Goals see obstacles as learning opportunities. Excuses are the mind's attempt to justify giving up too soon. But goals are the milestones that measure your progress. And I want to talk about that for a second. If you think about where you are in your life now, and you go back 5 years, 10 years, you will see that you've progressed towards your goals far more than you think you have. You have, you know, your situation is not the same today as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the point I'm trying to make here is if you've got a goal of starting your own business or getting into a franchise business, but you're too scared to make that step because you're not sure you're going to succeed, you're not sure you're going to be able to make it. Look at the progress you've already made in your life and see the evidence that you can be successful when you put your mind to it. This is my wife, Oakwee, which is short for Okwichi. She was born in Nigeria. She grew up there. She actually got a 4-year college degree as a librarian. But then in her 20s, she decided to move to the U.S. She got married, had some kids, 3 kids. That marriage didn't work out. And as a single mom of 3, she went back to school here in the U.S. and went all the way and attained her doctorate degree with 3 very young children in tow. She took the first step towards ownership because she was actually the one that bought into the Instant Imprints franchise. She and I met about 3.5, 4 years ago, and our relationship blossomed. We realized we had a lot of dreams and goals the same, and we ended up getting married. My background, I graduated seminary school in the early 90s. Again, it didn't work out because things that were going on in my life at the time. So I got into insurance sales, did insurance sales for 9 years. It was just a very difficult industry to stay on top of because the laws and everything were changing so fast, and I just got burned out on it. So I went into industrial distribution sales, got in and worked my way up into management, kept climbing up that corporate ladder, and eventually became the COO of the last company that I worked at. It was at that point when I met Oakwee. We got married. I say I married the boss because she's 55% owner of the franchise opportunity. So I'm gonna kind of break away from the PowerPoint here for a second and just talk. But why did we go franchise versus doing a startup business on our own? Again, she has a medical background, and didn't have the time to go out and start something from scratch and pour all of her time and effort into it. So she bought into the franchise. It was doing more of that absentee thing and had hired a manager to work there. Again, on my side of it, I'm not the guy that comes up and creates the new widget. I'm not like Scott. I'm not the one that has the new creative idea. I'm the guy that could come in, and where there's a system in place and there's a process already lined out, I can manage the heck out of that. So that's why franchising became our focus and our priority. And so when we got married, the franchise presented the opportunity for us to become the area developers, and we accepted that. It's a separate contract. We bought in. We're licensed for up to 25 locations in the Houston area, and with that, when we can either open the stores ourselves or we can sell franchise opportunities. So we want to sell franchise opportunities, and this is where the power team idea started to come together and develop, because our business model is, when we sell a franchise, I become their business coach essentially. I go in, I help them find a location, get set up, get established, start plugging into different networking groups. That's where Toni came in. And Toni, we've already got the relationships in there with Toni and her group. So now a new business owner comes in. They're starting from scratch in the sense of building customer base. Immediately, they're going to plug into a network that's familiar with instant imprints and what we can do. People are going to need social media advertising and digital marketing. That's where Tanisha came in. So Tanisha is my social media and digital marketing person. She's doing a fabulous job with it. And so now I can introduce Tanisha to these new franchisees, and they immediately have somebody that knows the brand, that knows how to promote it and market it, and can help shorten that curve of starting the business to profitability. There's so many advantages to working within a franchise model. It's just hard to list all of them in one place. But the thing is, the opportunity is there, and these, any new entrepreneur wanting to come in and get that support, they also have the opportunity to purchase multiple locations. They don't have to just do one. And then I believe Scott alluded to it in his talk that most millionaires have at least 4 streams of income. And that's what my wife and I are doing. We want to have multiple locations of the instant imprints around the city. And by the way, the more locations you have, the easier it is for the next guy to be successful, because the brand recognition is already there. But we didn't want to just stop there, because we are working towards that legacy that Linda is talking about. our kids are getting involved in the business. And I just moved my daughter from a previous marriage down here to come help us manage pizza restaurants as they come online. So, there's I apologize getting chipped up here a little bit. I'm just excited because there's just so many great things about getting into franchising that check all the boxes of the things that we're looking for. Again, it's a system and a process that's in place that already exists. All we have to do is come in and manage it. I can't remember who asked the question earlier, but about the oh my goodness, I'm sorry. If the model doesn't work in the market that you're in, well, with instant imprints, we have 5 verticals. We got signs and banners, printing, embroidery, custom t-shirts, and promotional items. So that model, you can go into any market, and one market may have a stronger need for signs and banners. Another market might have a stronger need for embroidery. But whatever market you go into, we have a product that can be sold and draw customers in. And then once you got them in on one item, say it's embroidery, then it's going to be easier to talk to them about custom t-shirts. It's going to be easier to talk to them about promotional items. So, does every instant imprint store sell an equal amount of everything? Absolutely not. There's locations in Canada. They're getting ready to open some over in Europe, and we have regular peer-to-peer calls, and each franchisor has, they're stronger in some areas than other areas. So there is some flexibility within the model. Like with the pizza restaurants, it's pizza. How many variations can you do of it? Except, a little tongue in cheek, it is a build your own pizza thing. So I guess there can be many variations, but what I'm trying to say is it's all pizza. It's not like we can, we're not going to be selling hamburgers because people don't want pizzas. That one's more narrow, which leads me to want to talk about the advantages of working with a franchise broker, like Linda. We had not met Linda when we were making our decisions, but we absolutely got together with a franchise broker that did very similar what Linda does. Did the evaluation, help narrow down the field of choices of what we wanted, and helped us plug into something that we could be passionate and could be excited about, and we're able to make smarter decisions about what we want and what we need. And as we continue to build this legacy for the generations to come, as I mentioned, we enjoy the process of the building. We enjoy the process of creating something that wasn't there before. We enjoy the process of being able to provide jobs and incomes for other families. But at the end of the day, what we really want to do, between it, she has 3 kids from a prior marriage. I have 2, so together we have 5. So we want to set up all 5 of our children with security and income and a comfortable future going forward. And again, multiple locations, building an empire, multiple businesses where, you have seasonality changes, you have economic changes. There's so many ways that you can set yourself up to be successful and to be pandemic or recession proof and things like that. So what I want to do is leave you with some thoughts here. Again, making excuses is really just saying, I'm just not doing it, or I just didn't do it. But the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but you got to keep stepping to get the rest of the way there. If you're going through hell, keep going. It's the only way to the other side. All right? If you stand still, you're no longer the fireman, you're the fuel. Don't be the fuel for the fire. Fight that fire. Keep going. Get to the other side. Business ownership is not easy, but you got to take that first step. You're going to find challenges and struggles, but keep going, because as I mentioned before with the milestones, you will progress. It will get better, but get plugged in with the right franchise and make sure you got the kind of support like we offer at Instant Imprints, because it'll make it a whole lot easier. And always remember, there is no failure. There's only feedback. Thomas Edison is famous for his 10,000 attempts at creating the light bulb. In an interview, he was asked, why did you keep going after you failed so many times? And he said, well, we didn't fail. We just now know 10,000 ways that a light bulb doesn't work. Right? It's just feedback. How many of us give up at 5 attempts, 10 attempts? How many of us, it could even conceive of trying 500 times to do something? And he kept going for over 10,000 times. I just want to encourage you, if you're considering business ownership and you're uncertain of which way to go or what's going to be successful, consider franchising. It solves so many problems, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can grow it to any size that you want that will allow you to live at that legacy level of ownership. So, any questions from anybody at this point in time? Nope. So,
One second, I'm just checking the chat to see. David, so I have one question here for you. In terms of being an area director and handling multiple franchises, the Urban Bricks and the Instant Imprints as an area director, what would you say has been your greatest satisfaction and your greatest challenge being a franchise owner?
Let me start out by answering the greatest challenge first. The greatest challenge is time management. As you can imagine, when you have multiple businesses, there's multiple things coming at you all the time. And, it's very easy to get distracted with the noise and forget what's important or step over what's important. So really, like Wendy and her husband there, that they both have careers and they're looking at getting into franchising as well. Just be prepared that it's going to pull on your time. But if you get a hold of your schedule and you control it, you can manage far more than you think you can. The second part of that actually segues into the greatest reward is make sure if you can't devote enough time that you've got the right key people in place. Something that I'm going through right now with my instant imprints is, I had a key employee, not with us, but over 20 years experience in the print business. And he was brought in to, kind of run that business for us. And he did a really good job at first, but as we started to grow, he was not able to scale with the business and ended up, I had to let him go because he wasn't fulfilling what he was hired to do. The rewarding part of that is I'm now bringing my daughter in to train her, to manage and run the business, and two of my wife's kids, or two sons, are now working in the business with us as well. So, we're already starting to see the legacy part of it develop, and we're already starting to get the kids involved early enough, that they can feel proud of helping us to build that business as well. And let me tell you that to me is worth all the struggle. It's worth all the heartache. It's worth the sacrifice.
It's building that legacy that Linda talked about earlier. Thank you.
Well, with that, I will now introduce our next speaker, which is Dr. Tanisha Lamel, who I did meet through networking, and we started discussing how we could help each other with referrals and this and that. And when I learned more about her business and her approach to it, I was just like, this is somebody that gets it and understands, and I want her on my team, helping me grow my business. And I can't say enough good things about her, so I'm just going to go ahead and let her start doing the talking now. So please welcome Dr. Tanisha Lamel.
Thank you. Give me a second. I had to unshare so that I can unmute here. New technical difficulties. 1 second. I do want to say thank you to Toni, David. You guys have shared some awesome information. And I want to thank all of you for staying on till the end so that I could give my presentation. And we do have a giveaway at the end. So I'm going to try to share my screen again. Okay. I think we're there. Great. Okay, so my presentation is power, and forgive me for looking two ways. I've got 3 screens and I'm trying to manage here, but today I want to talk about power of your franchise, 7 clever keys to success. And we will start with, I'm going to start with a quick overview of my presentation today. I'll talk a little bit about my background so you'll kind of get to know me and understand how I fit in all of this, even though I'm not a franchise owner yet. Then we're going to look at some reasons why franchises fail. I think we've talked a little about that already. And then we're going to talk about the 7 clever strategies to power your franchise. And these are actually 7 clever strategies to power your business. There are strategies that I've used, strategies that have been researched and proven. So a little bit about me. I am a certified digital consultant. I also have a doctorate in business administration. I've been building websites for over 13 years, and I've owned my business, The Clever Site. We're actually celebrating 10 years this year, so we're super excited about that. I also love to teach and mentor business students and other small business owners. I do that at San Jacinto College, as well as the Houston Community Digital Marketing Academy, where I had an opportunity to work with business owners and aspiring business owners. I am most passionate about my faith, my family, and helping others. I do have 3 beautiful children that keep me very, very busy. And it's really the reason I wanted to be an entrepreneur and own my own business, because I wanted to be in control of my own time so that I could give priority to my family. So one of the benefits of being in business for yourself. Why do franchises fail? So I got this information from an article that was in Inc. magazine. One was they don't understand the market, or they fail to do the research. And that's why it's so important to have someone like Linda who can evaluate the particular franchise that you are looking to go into. It's also a reason why many businesses fail. They don't do the research. They don't do their due diligence. So whether you're franchising or doing a startup, you want to make sure that you understand the market that you're going into. Do your due diligence, do your research. Another reason is they lack a list of preferred vendors. And this is something that David and I talked about with his instant imprints, or with his franchise. It's so important that you have people to work with, because you're going to need services outside of what the franchise can offer you. Just like David works with us, we do his digital marketing, his social media, but there are also other services that you're going to have as a business owner. And being able to have a list of companies that have already been vetted, they've already been proven, and you know they're going to be within your budget, it really makes it a whole lot easier and saves you so much time. Just like Linda talked about a CRM, I can tell you, starting a business as a startup, there were so many mistakes. How many CRMs did I have to try out before I figured out which one was going to be best for my type of business? And like Linda says, when you're within a franchise, they provide you with that because it's already been marketed, it's already been tested and proven. They don't take a holistic approach to marketing. And that's because a lot of franchise owners will only go with what the franchise provides. And that's a big mistake. So being able to partner with a marketing team outside of the franchise to really boost your marketing and to network your business, because again, it's all about relationships. Franchises fail sometimes because they do not offer a unique value. We heard Scott talk about how, he has many franchisees in NIA, but Toni stands out. Toni has a different message. Toni has a very drastic message, and she presents that unique value. And just like David, he's not the only instant imprints owner out there. It's a franchise, so the brand is there, but David stands out as a visibility expert. You don't come to David just to get a pretty business card. You come to David to get expertise in visibility and marketing. And so when you're doing a franchise, you definitely want to know that you're going to have to put some brain power behind it, and you're going to want to develop a brand strategy that is going to allow you to stand out from the others. And then finally, they fail to build a solid team. And this is, again, really, really important. Like David said, time management can be one of the most challenging parts of business ownership, regardless of what type of business you're in. And if you're doing it all by yourself, it's going to be a very long, difficult journey. Being able to build that team early on is very, very important. It's something I wish I would have done much sooner in my 13 years of web design, and definitely 10 years of owning the business, because having a solid team will help take you to the next level, and it will also help you to scale your business and really own a business and not just own a job. For the first several years of my business, I can say I called myself a business owner, but really I owned a job because I was putting in way more hours than I did when I was in corporate America. Next. So, clever strategy. And before I jump into this, I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we came up with this clever strategy. So I mentioned to you that I have a doctorate in business administration. I did my dissertation, my research. I spent 6 years researching to identify the best practices of minority and women business owners in government contracting. And if any of you know anything about government contracting, it is a very lucrative stream of revenue, but it is also a very difficult industry to tap into. And so I felt like being able to identify best practices of those who have been successful in government contracting, then I could probably find out the best practices of business owners everywhere. And so my participants in my study, they were from various industries. They were all minority or women business owners that had held multiple successful government contracts. And so I asked them the questions: what were the best practices? What was it that made you successful? And what were the biggest challenges? And how did you come over that? And within that study, I was able to come up with a list of best practices and create a model or a framework of best practices that can be used and applied in businesses over and over again. And so it's just like, the bonus of having that franchise, having that model, having this framework of clever strategies that has been proven over and over again to help a small business be successful has really helped me turn around my business, and it helps in the consulting that I do with other small business owners to help them start a solid foundation and grow their business. So in that research, the results showed 7 basic themes that all of the business owners I interviewed were similar. There were 7 basic themes that came through all of that. And so we're going to start, first of all, talking about the clever strategy. It's clarity, leadership, execution, value, economics, relationships, and resources. And so I'm going to dive into each one of those just a little bit. Clarity. So when you're starting a business, and like Linda said, there's so many, it's so many different franchise opportunities out there, so many different reasons to go into business, so many different things that you can do to create that new stream of revenue, to create that new lifestyle and build that legacy for yourself. But before you get started, you really want to get clear on your why. What is it why are you doing what you're doing? And then what is it that you want to be able to provide? If it's a printing agency, what do you want to just be able to provide products for companies, or do you want to be able to provide a product that is superior to other things on the market? Or do you want to be able to provide a service that is going to just blow those customers away? Figure out what it is that you really want to offer. And that really has to go beyond whatever product or service it is that you're offering. And you're going to want to have your own mission, vision, and plan, your strategy in writing, because this is going to help guide your process. And again, you're going to get a lot from your franchise, but I don't want you to go into it thinking that you don't put your own personality, your own drive into it, because you have to make this business yours, because at the end of the day, it's your name that's going to be, that they're going to look to, your location. Just to give you an example of what I did when I was trying to get clarity around the Clever site and what it is that I want it to be as a business owner. My mission is to empower small business owners who want to change the world by helping them to grow and scale their business. And you probably were saying, well, that has nothing to do with websites or digital marketing. Well, that my mission is my passion and my purpose, and it goes beyond that. And so if I open another business today or tomorrow, it's going to have to align with my mission statement as a business owner. And I think Toni touched a little bit about that as well. What is your true passion? What is it that you want to do? Now, the vision for my business, the Clever site, is a full service consulting firm. We support service based business owners around the world by providing low-cost solutions to increase efficiency, improve productivity, and be more profitable. Now, that's how I'm going to accomplish this mission so that I can feel good about the business that I do every day. My plan or my strategy is to teach clever business strategy. I do that, like I said, at the university level. I do it through the consulting and coaching that I do with my business clients on how they can better market their business and use their digital marketing strategy. And then to employ subject matter experts and utilize technology. One thing I learned through this whole doctoral process is that the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And I am not an expert in everything, but one thing that I'm very, very good at is finding out, getting information, and finding resources and networking with experts. So when I have a question about printing or promotional items, I go to David. If I have a question about networking or sales, I can go to Toni. When I'm ready to make that step, and I will be doing that soon with franchising for looking for that extra stream of income, I'm going to be going to Linda. So being able to employ subject matter experts, whether that be in your business or your life, that is really, really important. And that's part of you getting that clarity around what is it that I want to do? How am I going to get it done? And then who are those people that can help me find my way? After clarity, it's leadership. We've already talked about how important it is in having and building a solid team. And so recruiting and hiring a solid team, building a strong workforce is very, very important. But not only building that strong team, but then being able to train and develop them. And if you don't have the expertise to do that, then you need to bring in someone that is able to do that. If sales is not your forte, but you have a salesperson on your team, then you'll look to an expert such as Toni or someone who has that particular expertise in the area of sales. Even if you're going to do it yourself, once you become a business owner, you become a salesperson, whether you want to or not. And I didn't understand that about business when I first started because I did not like networking. I did not like sales. I'm very much an introvert. I can stand up and give a presentation all day long, but if you put me in a room with a bunch of people, I'm just going to sit there and watch. People watch pretty much. But sales is so important. And so if that's not an area that you're strong in, you need to get the training and development because leadership is a key area and a best practice of successful business owners, being able to develop those skills and identify leaders within your organization to be able to take it to that next level. Next is execution. Execution is so very important. And this is why I am now leaning towards the idea of franchise, because like I said, running a business from scratch, you have to figure everything out for yourself. And I've made so many mistakes. I'm actually an entrepreneur, what they call a serial entrepreneur, I guess, because I've owned a car dealership, of cleaners, an HR consulting firm, and now the web design, which I really kind of fell into this whole web design thing accidentally. That's a whole nother story. But so the hard part is execution is how do you do it all? How do you manage your clients? How do you market your business? How do you do the bookkeeping and keep up with the projects and follow up with prospects? And how do you get lead generation? How do you do it all? And that's one of the things, like I said, not having that model or that strategy in place can be very, very difficult for a new business owner. So, but execution is a best practice. If you can successfully execute your business in every area, not just in selling the product, but also in making sure that your bookkeeping is on point, making sure your payroll is on time, making sure that your finances, your profit and loss statements are in place. Project management falls under that. There are so many project management tools out there today. Project management has become so important that it is now a separate degree or separate certification that you can get just in the field of project management. And that was definitely, project management was actually the overall theme or overarching theme of all of the best practices that came out of my study. So being able to successfully manage your projects is so key and so important. There's several project management tools, like I meant, if you're not familiar with and you're going to be a business owner, I suggest you get familiar with either Monday, Trello, Asana. There's so many out there, but do some research on project management tools. Having your business processes and procedures. Again, if you're starting from scratch, you have to come up with all of these on your own. And I am 13 years in, and I'm still writing standard operating procedures. I'm still trying to document this process. And that's why I said, when I do it again, I will do it where some of this is already put in place. Although I love creating processes and I love systems and I thrive off of that, it's a key best practices to success. And I understand that now. And so that's one thing that you want to make sure that you have in place. And the franchise does offer you that. And then quality assurance, making sure that whatever product or service you are delivering meets that level of excellence that you want to be represented. You want to represent that brand and that name. After execution, we'll talk about value. Understanding your market, identifying your niche, and then being able to articulate what sets you apart. What is the true value that you bring? What is your value proposition? One of the things I do is I help my clients write their value proposition statement. So many companies don't really know what sets them apart. They're not able to articulate it. And if you ask them what they do, they just kind of fall in line with what everyone else in their industry does. But you want to make sure that you have a strong value proposition statement, that you are able to articulate what sets you apart from others in your industry. And not only that, not only are you able to articulate it, but you are able to deliver on that value proposition. That's what's going to set you apart and help to ensure success. Finally, economics. Obviously, knowing your numbers, knowing the economics of the market that you're in, doing that research, but also understanding the pricing strategy and the access that you have to funding. Those are all things that are critical, especially when we're talking about minority and women business owners, because they don't always have access to that. So being able to chime into organizations like the Minority Franchise Association that Toni spoke about earlier is going to be really key there. But economics, understanding again your pricing strategy, that is a key component to being successful in your business. Knowing how to price projects so that you end up profitable, because there's so much more than just the cost of that good. Understanding what are your overhead expenses, what are your labor costs, and what is your time cost? How much time are you spending doing something? That's something as a solopreneur, when I first started my business, when it was just me, I wasn't taking into account for the hours I was spending working on a job or building a website. So by the time I calculated, and it only took me one good time before I realized I had to up my prices, when I calculated how many hours I was spending on building a website, consulting with my clients, regardless of the software that I had purchased and regardless of what it cost me to actually build the website, by the time I calculated my hours, I was making less than minimum wage. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to go back to corporate America because this just isn't adding up. But it's so important that you understand the economics of business, and that you work with an expert, whether it be a CPA or a bookkeeper, but someone that knows how your financials are going to work, someone that understands, and I'm going to go to the next one because I think it talks a little bit about the different documents that you need, someone that understands and can explain cash flow statements, balance sheets, profit and loss statements. If you don't understand that stuff, please, and I see it happen so often to entrepreneurs and new business owners, I'm going to do my own books. I'll create this profit and loss statement from a template I grab off the internet. And it's dangerous. I'm telling you, it's dangerous. Not only that, but you miss out on so many opportunities. The PPP loans that came available to entrepreneurs, So many businesses that could have gotten those weren't able to because they didn't have their books in order. They didn't have their numbers. They didn't have their documents. And so it's really, really crucial early on that you find someone to help you, again, that the subject matter expert or someone to help you with your books, with your financials. There are several tools out there to help you, but I won't talk too much on those because from a franchise standpoint, those are usually given to you when you work with the franchise. So after economics, it's relationships and resources. And these are really the last two keys that are the most important. Everyone that has spoken today has spoken about the importance of relationships. And I will really tell you, these two were huge in the best practices list that came from the research, relationships and resources. They were right under project management. And in my opinion, I really do believe that relationships equal resources. It's so important to have the right relationships beyond your network. You know how many small business owners go in thinking, oh, I've got a ton of family and friends and they're going to buy my product or service because they've always supported me. Trust me, it does not happen that way. They may speak highly of you if they remember in a conversation that someone may need your service, but you cannot build a business based on family and friends buying from you. Not if you want to be successful in business and want to have that longevity. So building relationships through different networking groups, through different organizations, chambers, whatever it is that you can do to get yourself in contact with other people. And this is not going to meetings and throwing your business cards around. No, this is real relationship building. That means meeting someone, having a conversation with them, and then carrying that conversation on beyond that initial opportunity where you can really discuss, okay, now how can we really help each other? How can I help you grow your business? You know, be an asset to that person so that they remember you. Effective relationship building is huge. Customer relationship management, and that's a whole nother topic for itself, but you have to be able to build those relationships with your customers beyond that sale, beyond the initial contact, and then beyond the sale. How are you nurturing that relationship? I mentioned earlier about relationships being equaling resources, and I really believe that's true because through joint ventures, you can have doors open to you that would not have otherwise been there. And this is really big in government contracting. And as franchises, you can absolutely participate in the world of government contracting. But there may be a contract available and you're only able to do part of it. There's a contract for marketing and they want print, digital, media, all of it. Copywriting. Well, if I were to see that contract as a digital marketer and I didn't have relationships, I'd probably say, oh, I can't bid on this contract. But because I do have relationships, oh, I can bring David in and he can do the printing part. I can bring Val in and she can do the copywriting part. So we can come together as a joint venture. We still each have our own business, but we're able to come together, partner, and now we have a huge opportunity presented in front of us. In addition to joint ventures, there's strategic alliance, just like the one we formed to be able to be here today and to present to you all. We all have a different background, a different level, a different type of expertise in a different area, but we all felt that this was something that was important to us, and this was important information that we wanted to get out. One thing we all share in common is that we all love to help people, and I hope you receive that as we're on here today talking with all of you, is that we wanted to share this information. We see people are leaving corporate America. We see people who are tired with their jobs, people who are wanting something different. And so we wanted to share with you all, how you can get in onto the success and the peace and joy that we all have as business owners ourselves. So strategic alliances are so important. So when you're building your business, you want to make sure that you're connecting with people, not just people that you can sell to, but people that you can be of benefit to, people you can help, whether it be, again, through a strategic alliance or a joint venture or even a power team. And power teams, that's the last relationship I'm going to talk about here, but this is one that has been amazing for me because David and I have started our power team because it just makes sense. We're both in marketing. People that need printing, they need websites, and people that need websites, they need printing. And so being the two of us work together as a power team. So we're constantly referring each other back and forth. We're constantly able to help each other think outside of the back box. We understand each other's business. And as they say, iron sharpens iron. And so having someone that you can relate to that has some of the same struggles and the same challenges. David mentors me. We share information and we help each other grow. And I definitely believe that I am a better business person because I've been able to work so closely with him over the last several months. And I'm excited to have him as a client and as a business mentor and a strategic alliance and power team partner. So if I can't stress anything else, and if you don't get anything else from my presentation today, please know that relationships are resources and they are so, so important in whatever business desire you decide to, whatever venture you decide to go forward in after our meeting today. So I'm going to wrap it up. I just want to say, never stop learning. If you are a person that does not like to learn, does not like to read, does not like to experience new things, then entrepreneurship is probably not for you, because you're going to get into this and you may be an expert in whatever field it is that you're in. But I promise you, once you start this journey down entrepreneurship, you're going to realize there's some things that you don't know. Our intellectual capital is the most valuable of all factors of production. If you don't continue to keep learning, keep growing, then you're not going to be able to keep being successful. So I definitely want to encourage each of you to never stop learning. And I'm going to say it's so funny because I didn't even talk with the group about what I wanted to give away today, but every person on the panel today spoke about knowing your why. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. Simon Sinek, he wrote the book, Start With Why. And so I want to encourage each of you that are thinking about this journey of entrepreneurship, franchising, business ownership, startups, whatever it is, know your why. And this is a great book. I encourage any business owner to read this book. And with that, I'm actually going to give away a copy of the book today. So if you hung on to the end and you put your name in the chat, I'm going to give that away in just a second. And for those of you who don't win the book, because I'm only giving away one book, I do have a free offer for you. If you scan the QR code there, you can get a link to get my ebook, 5 Things Every Business Owner Can Fix on Their Website in the next week to grow your business online. And regardless of what type of business you have, if you're a storefront, home-based business, service-based provider, you are going to have to market your business online. It is 2021. And if you don't have an online presence, then you're going to be behind the game. So there is the QR code for that. Why I'm going to, okay, my mouse just went away. Hold on, there we go. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time. This is my contact information, so I'll give you a minute to get that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up the wheel of names so that I can do my giveaway. Let's see. Let me share. Am I still sharing? Let me share a different screen here so you guys can see and know that my wheel of names is legit here. Let's which thing sharing desktop to. Yep, there we go. Okay, real quick, I've got Melissa, Larry, Wendy, Chris, Brad, Valeria, Tiffany, and Day. Did I miss anybody? Nope. Okay, I am going to spin to see who our winner is. Day, is she still here? Is it Day or Dot? Am I saying your name right? Uh-oh, you gotta be here to win.
It's Day. She's here.
I'm here. Okay, I'm here. Day, if you would put your, as long as you put your email address, your name and email address, contact information in the chat, I will shoot you an email and you can let me know where you would like me to send your copy of Start With Why. Congratulations. Okay, did Tony, were you doing a giveaway? Did anyone else need the wheel of names before
Yes,
shut it
I
down?
do. I do.
Okay, are we ready for the next? You want to say something
I
about your
do.
giveaway?
I think Tiffany has left. Can you remove her name from the wheel?
Will do.
Remove Val and Dave from the wheel. Actually, forget it. Melissa, Brad, Wendy, you all can get a free ticket to my event. $97 value online. It is November 3rd through 5th. And I will put the link in chat. Click the link and register. If any of you want to come in person, I will give you a, this is a terrific deal, you guys, just because you gave us your Saturday mornings. And I'm so passionate about what networking can do for your life, not just your business, your life. So, have 3 spots left for VIP here in Houston, Greens Point area. 147, it's $297. But I'm giving you the VIP friend code. Are you kidding me? So if you're smart, you'll take these last 3 spots I got today. And I have a free book offer for you. Get my free book at drasticresultsacademy.com. I'm putting that in chat. Give me a second. I'll give you the links. If you want to do the VIP 147, it's $297 for everybody else. I know y'all can say, wow. So let me find the links and give it to you before we get out of here. And then if you can't come in person, please don't take the space. You can come online and I'll give you that link in a minute. So can we give our participants a round of applause, please? I think that this was an awesome, awesome event. Are there any questions, by the way? No?
More a comment than a question, Tony. I've been sitting here quiet. I just want to say I really appreciated everything that was presented. I thought the presentation was well. I thought the speakers gave fantastic information, absolutely helpful. And so there are 2 of you that I will be trying to reach out to personally. Tanisha is one and Linda the other one. I thought you guys you just said some things that really piqued my interest particularly. So if it's okay with you, I'll be reaching out to both of you personally just to kind of continue the conversation.
Thank you. And I'm going to put up the slides so you all can take a picture. I think everybody's put their contact information in chat as well. So, but I am going to, just because you all stayed the whole time, gave us your Saturday morning. This is going to be a life-changing conference. Click whichever link applies to you and get yourself registered. And just do Toni a favor and share it with one more person. If each one brings one, we can change everybody's life together. I'm going to put up the slide with all of our contact information. Scott put his contact information. That was a generous offer. If you're considering any franchise, he's going to help you, as well as Linda, with what the questions are you should ask. In fact, we all would do that. So we're just your resources. And feel free to take a picture of this slide so you'll have all our contact information in one spot. Save the chat. And Linda, David, Tanisha, any final thoughts?
Just want to say thank you again for you guys sharing your Saturday with us. Thank you to Toni, David, and Linda. This so much fun working with you guys. So looking forward to doing it again.
Same here. And what I would say to everyone is it's never too soon to start, because this process can take several years. However, if you want to be in business in 2022, we can make that happen as well. But just start the process now.
David?
I want to thank everybody for being here as well, and your participation and everything. if there's any way we can be of assistance, answer questions, whether it's about, an instant imprint franchise opportunity or just franchising in general, you just have questions about, the struggle or whatever, be happy to talk to you, answer your questions, help you out any way we can.
And I want to close by saying, I want to echo Scott's comment. Don't spend one more hour doing something you hate. Life is short. If we didn't learn anything in 2020, in 2021 now, life is short. Too short to be in a situation that is really diminishing your life day by day. So whatever you choose to do, choose it, take the drastic step, make a choice, and keep moving towards that choice with a network who can hold your hand through the process. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you again somewhere soon. And I hope to see every one of you at my conference. This is Toni Harris Taylor saying, take a drastic step today for a fantastic tomorrow. And we will talk to you soon. Bye.